The fate of some 80 horses at one of Singapore's riding schools is hanging in the balance. Just months after they moved to the Singapore Turf Club in Kranji, they and other tenants may be forced to find a new home in the next 2 to 3 years, after the club recently announced it would be shutting its doors for good by 2027. Tan Si-hui with this report.
Saddling up for yet another move. The news that the Singapore Turf Club is set to close came as a shock to the team at the Bukit Timah Saddle Club. That's especially as it just moved from its historic grounds at Bukit Timah to its new home here just 3 months ago. It had also spent a substantial amount to refurbish the area for activities like dressage and riding lessons.
We had to build a new walker. It's on the other side, so we also exercise without the rider.
I see.
We did a fire shelter, and then we had to build all the new arena on top, especially.
Okay, and now that you've heard of the news, that Singapore Turf Club would be closing in the next few years, how do you feel? I mean, the fact that you refurbished the entire place and then now you may have to leave again.
Yes, of course. It's sad. The first time when we had the news yesterday, it was a bit like a bit of demotivation at the beginning, but after we realized it's not the end. We have to work to keep it better.
She says the Saddle Club will remain at Kranji for the next 2 years before its lease expires, after which it may renew its lease for another year. In the meantime, it'll write into authorities in hopes of remaining here for good. Even so, it expects costs of supplies to increase with the Singapore Turf Club's phased departure, as supplies are usually delivered together.
Everything is imported. So the food is imported, the hay is imported, the wood chip is imported. So when we reduce the quantity, I'm sure the cost will be a bit more expensive.
Maintaining a horse also doesn't come cheap at around $4,000 each month. It has 80 horses, while more than 30 others are privately owned. It's also planning to take in 5 former racing horses from the Turf Club, which will export its 700 horses to countries like Malaysia before it shuts. Meanwhile, Gallop Stable, which takes in retired horses, says it's willing to house the remaining ones that don't get exported.
To rehabilitate a horse, it takes about maybe a few months, maybe 6 months to a year. It usually starts with their food, so we give them like food that makes them a little bit more calmer compared to in their racing sport. And then we also introduce them to their surroundings here, so like people, and also we let them socialize with other horses.
The company says its doors are also open to skilled workers. 350 employees are set to be retrenched when the Singapore Turf Club closes.